Black Mirror season 7 just dropped, and is it just me or does Black Mirror just not hit like it used to? So if you're sitting there thinking, wait, what just happened? You're not alone. So in this video, I'm breaking down every episode's ending and explaining what it all really means. So let's just get into it. Episode 1, titled Common People, is a story that hits real close to home for all of us. Since if you've seen this episode, it means you probably have Netflix, and Netflix is notorious for raising their prices. They did it just 2 months ago. Look at this email I got. And I remember when I used to pay $7.99 for the exact same service. Matter of fact, it was a little better since I used to at least get a DVD in the mail too.
Watch as many TV episodes and movies as you want for only $8 a month.
I can guarantee that once you start, you're going to love it.
To start your Netflix free trial today, go to GetNet.
But this episode seems to be a critique of two major issues in modern capitalistic societies: the rising cost of healthcare and the rise of subscription services. The story follows Mike and Amanda, a working class couple trying to start a family. But when Amanda develops a brain tumor, a devastating medical emergency with no cure, everything changes. Mike, in his time of need, is approached by Gaynor, a medical sales rep who offers him a radical experimental solution from a tech company called Reverie. The operation revives Amanda by replacing her brain tissue with Reverie's proprietary smart tissue software. But there is a catch. Amanda can only function if Mike subscribes to Reverie's overpriced monthly plan. The tiers of this plan are disturbingly familiar: ad-supported, ad-free, Lux. Sound familiar, anyone? And the higher the tier, the more quote-unquote human Amanda gets to be, because if she's on the ad-supported plan, they will literally have her reciting ads in person, essentially showing us the ultimate end goal of all these subscription services: either subscribe or pay or become a walking advertising. Netflix has ads, Hulu has ads, YouTube has ads, Spotify, you name it, there's ads. Like all modern subscription services, even basic dignity has a price. So in order to help me pay for my Netflix, don't forget to click that subscribe button. Just like I had to turn to making videos online to afford my subscriptions, to keep Amanda quote unquote alive, Mike begins live streaming on a dark web platform called Dumb Dummies. Think of it like Twitch, but real dark and degrading, where he performs increasingly dangerous acts, self-harm, humiliation, degradation, for money, for subscription. So don't forget, click the subscribe button. Eventually it gets out and he loses his job, his dignity, and eventually any semblance of normalcy. A year later, we find Mike still streaming, mutilating himself just to give Amanda moments of peace. But Amanda, now far removed from humanity, begs Mike to end her suffering. The episode ends in a classic Black Mirror fashion, with Mike tearfully suffocating Amanda with a pillow. This entire episode is a brutal commentary on the commodification of healthcare and how capitalism turns even love into a subscription plan. It's to the point where we can't even share passwords anymore without being charged for it. I think this being the first episode was done on purpose to criticize Netflix itself, which I think the irony might be lost on Netflix unless they did it on purpose. Because watching this episode, while it does focus on the healthcare, the biggest part of it was the subscription models. The fact that it took 3 years for Netflix to drop another Black Mirror episode, and in that 3 years, they've raised their prices twice. And we see the quality of whatever they're giving us deteriorate over time. So I don't know if Netflix was doing this as a critique of the industry and it ended up turning out to a critique of themselves, or it was something they chose to say, hey, we hear you guys, and we're addressing it. That brings us to episode 2, Bete Noir, which is French for black beast, which is another way of saying black sheep. This episode is one of the most psychologically fantastical episodes in the history of Black Mirror, and it kind of stretches the limit of believability that made Black Mirror so good in the earlier seasons, because this story follows Maria, who has the sweetest job in history. She's a confectionery at a sweets company. A confectionery is someone who creates sweets. I didn't even know that was a position, but kudos to Maria for the sweetest job ever. But things get very weird at her job when Reverie, a former classmate, gets hired and starts to work with Maria. From the start, Maria suspects something is off. Verity's presence unravels her life, but no one else seems to notice. For a while, even we, the audience, aren't sure if Maria is paranoid or perceptive. I think the episode tried to start off similar to the Mandela effect. For those of you who don't know, the Mandela effect is a phenomenon where a large group of people share a false memory about a specific event, historical fact, or detail, often related to pop culture or history, despite evidence to the contrary. But the difference is, instead of a large group of people, it's just one person experiencing it. Maria. We learned from Maria that back in high school, someone started a rumor about Verity, how she gave one of the teachers a hand job, and from then on, she became the class pariah and everyone made fun of her. Now, years later, she's working with Maria, but I think because of Maria's behavior, her obsession with Verity, I started to figure out that she may have been the bully all along, since Maria was overcompensating at the fact that Verity worked here. Eventually, though, Maria discovers the truth. Verity owns a quantum compiler, a device that lets her manipulate timelines and bend reality itself. She used it to live countless lives, astronaut, fashion icon, world leader, but she never healed from her childhood trauma. Now she uses this compiler to hunt down those who've wronged her in high school, and Maria was one of them. The rumor that destroyed Verity's teenage life started with Maria. Even if she didn't mean any harm, Verity's plan was almost perfect until Maria surprises her, grabs a gun, shoots her in the head, and in the chaos, Maria seizes the compiler and makes a snap decision to become Empress of the Universe. It's a wild twist but deeply symbolic. I do think though, for someone as smart as Verity is, why couldn't she just come up with a better plan? Because if you can create something as powerful as a quantum compiler or quantum anything, you've already won at life. But when it comes to trauma and how you heal from it, it can be complicated, which is why in the ending of this episode, in a world where trauma can make you feel powerless, Maria uses Verity's power to claim total control. It's revenge, it's guilt, it's desperation all rolled in one, and it's kind of over the top. It doesn't make too much sense, and even though the positive message behind it all was, be careful what you do to people, you never know how it might turn out. The fact that Maria won in the end all the way, this episode pretty much said, hey, bully people, get a good job, and if they come back, kill them and you can win at life. Not the message I think Black Mirror wants to be portraying, but this is arguably the worst episode this season, so there's still that. Hotel Reverie trades the brutality of episode 2 for emotion. Brandy Friday, played by Issa Rae, is a famous actress on par with Ryan Reynolds, Ryan Gosling, or any other A-list actor they can name drop in this episode, which I think perfectly encapsulates the issue with the newer seasons of Black Mirror. The focus on pop culture more so than the dark cautionary tales of the expansion of technology, with Friday taking on what seems like a simple gig, star in a AI VR remake of a vintage romance movie. But this isn't just acting. This immersive world created by the tech company Redream is so advanced that it becomes hard to tell what's real. Hollywood as a whole has gone through various strikes over the past few years, and at the core of those strikes was AI, the use of AI, and how Hollywood is moving forward with implementing AI. We see the potential end results of it in this episode by how this episode shows the future of filmmaking. AI will be putting Hollywood actors, writers, gaffers, and everyone out of business. But this episode also shows an even more darker downside to this process. The downside, once you start the Redream process, you have to finish the movie script exactly how it ends or you'll die. So when Brandy tries to stick to the script, her improvisation leads to the movie glitching, which shows the downside of artificial intelligence. It doesn't account for human improvisation. And one of the best things about acting, and some of the best acting scenes of all time, come from improvisation, creating something on the fly, something that machine learning can never truly learn. The same way that we humans have the spirit to evolve and make things up on the fly, AI has to computate this, and if it doesn't computate the way it's supposed to, it kind of goes haywire, which is why Brandy gets trapped inside of the movie, alone with only Clara, the film's AI character, for company. They fall in love, and it's a beautiful story. I will say you kind of see how they expand on Clara's character with the use of AI. We learn so much more about her. We also learn about the actress who played Clara, Dorothy. In the computer world of the movie, time in this world moves faster than in the real one. So months, maybe years pass by with Brandy and Clara inside of the movie, and they form a real bond. But when the back-end team resets the world, Clara's memory of Brandy is wiped. It's a devastating moment, and it goes to show that even though AI can replicate things, they're not fully human. In the climax of the movie, Clara kills her abusive movie husband, and Brandy says the movie's final line. That allows her to return back to the real world, even though the movie changed, and the movie started getting rave reviews, not because it's a remake of the classic. This entire episode kind of digs at Hollywood a lot, because not only does it take a classic, it gender bends it, it also makes the main characters gay, and it acts like it doesn't exist. But the fact that it's actually winning, like, people love this movie, we know that's the contrary to what happens in real life. When you kind of do gender flips in movies, the audience don't really love it. Like, we can go on YouTube and see that, like, they hate that shit. But in the final scene of the movie, as a parting gift, Brandy receives a phone and a drive containing Clara's original screen test. She can now call Clara, or at least the AI version. I think it's just a thank you from Redream. But this episode leaves us with a lot of lingering questions and doesn't really have an ending to explain. It just kind of was an artistic flex and doesn't really say a lot while trying to say a lot, which is why a lot of people have problems with remakes of classical movies that don't add anything new, and this episode doesn't add anything new to the Black Mirror lore. The message, I think, is superficial, but it is in line with this season being focused mainly as not a critique of Hollywood, but almost like Netflix is addressing the problems of Hollywood and poking fun at their haters while doing so. Did you know that this season has 2 sequels to the previous Black Mirror installments? While a lot of people are focusing on USS Callister, episode 4 of season 7 is also a sequel. It's a sequel to the Netflix Black Mirror movie interactive event thingy called Bandersnatch. Do you remember it? When we, the audience, had to make the choices for the main character, we decided how the movie would play out. It was a new and weird experience, but if you thought Bandersnatch was weird, Plaything dials it up a bit. We follow Cameron Walker, who's suspected of murder when he's caught trying to steal alcohol. In Bandersnatch, we chose the actions of the characters and thus controlled the movie. It was our human engineering that decided the fate of the movie. But in Plaything, Cameron has been raising AI creatures inside of a 90s video game. These creatures called the Thronglets, a race of evolving cute digital life forms, but they're more than just pixels. Cameron has spent decades feeding them processing power by upgrading his Frankenstein computer with new tech. He even implants a neural link in his own brain, allowing the Thronglets to study him and grow more human. When the police are interrogating Cameron, he tricks them into handing him a pen and paper, and he draws a code that unleashes the Thronglets into UK's government mainframe. Suddenly, everyone, not just in the country but in the world, drops unconscious as the Thronglets merge with their minds. This episode is a warning about unchecked AI, nostalgia, and our willingness to plug ourselves into things we don't fully understand. Cameron sees himself not as a criminal, but as a prophet ushering a new digital consciousness, which is most likely going to be the next step of Black Mirror. Because if Bandersnatch was humanity evolving the story in real time, which is an upgrade for how we used to make movies where it was one director, one crew, they made their vision and we just had to eat it. But what if the next step is ever evolving content, but instead of humans controlling it, it's being controlled by AI? While Black Mirror has always been an anthology series, this season, all the anthology's episodes have the same core theme, and it's not just technology bad, it's a hyper focus on AI. It's about the future of AI in the movie and TV space. Episode 5 is titled Eulogy. It's a slow burn, but easily one of the most emotional stories this season. It follows Philip, who's a recluse and lives a life full of regret. He's called to submit memories of an own flame for a funeral service. The tool that he uses, a nubbing device, a memory recording technology we've seen peppered throughout season 7. It's the same technology that most Black Mirror uses when it's interfacing with your mind. Philip has some photos of Clara and they need to extract that from his memories so that they can create the best possible funeral for her with photos of her throughout her life. But Philip's photos of Carol are all damaged, her face scratched out, burned, torn. Clearly she's a painful memory. They were once a couple, but their relationship ended badly. Whether due to distance or betrayal, Philip isn't even sure anymore. It was an experience that he felt that he needed to suppress. The numbing device has the ability to help him unlock some of his memories. He's guided through the process by an AI called the Guide, but the twist, the Guide is actually Kelly, Philip's ex-lover's daughter. She called Philip at the beginning and orchestrated this memory journey to confront him with the truth about her mother. We learned that at a restaurant where he once planned to propose, Philip learns Carol left not because of him, but because she was pregnant with someone else's child, and his entire narrative was wrong. Philip never forgave her, but at the same time, you could see the signs as to why she left him. He was way more damaged. He never did the work. And instead of facing his demons, instead of working on himself, he suppressed it. The episode Eulogy isn't about tech gone wrong. It's actually about how our own memories can betray us. The AI here doesn't manipulate, it reveals. It's a haunting, cathartic story in a season that's focused on a single subject. While all other stories focus on the misuse of AI, the ending of Eulogy could be seen as a positive as to what AI can bring to humanity. It can help heal. It can help us look at some of our deep and dark suppressed memories and help us work past them. While this story is sad, it does have a happy note at the end. And I will say, the reason why Philip and Kelly had that connection is I do think she's his daughter. It's just that because of who he was, because of how abusive he was, and because of his anger issues, her mother might have kept her a secret for her own safety. Philip looked like he was on the edge of doing something crazy, but that's just my thoughts. I want to hear yours in the comment section below. The final episode of season 7 is USS Callister 2, which picks up right where the original left off. Only now the crew is trapped inside the sprawling, chaotic online world of Infinity. They're caught in a dangerous sandbox of a live MMO, where over 30 million players are all out for blood. With no in-game safety net and an economy that punishes the weak, the crew has resorted to robbing other players just to survive. Outside the game, things are just as messy. In the real world, Walton brings in Real-World Net to help him investigate the recent player disruptions in the game. He suspects that these mysterious no-tag accounts, the one causing the chaos in the game, which is the Clone Nanette and the Clone team from the first season, and as he digs deeper, the boundary between the digital and the physical blur, leading to a surreal reunion between the real Nanette and her digital counterpart. Soon, both the versions of Nanette realize the truth. Daily may be gone. His digital fingerprints are all over the code. In actuality, he is the code. It's taking humanity and fusing us with AI. We see how Infinity was originally developed. Daly called it an experience, not a game. He was building a universe. Walton, desperate to recoup losses from a failed business that could clone DNA, made Daly a deal. Daly agreed to have his consciousness uploaded to help finish the build, and I think that's when his madness took root. Because in classic Black Mirror fashion, things get dark and fast, especially when we get to the end, where Daly presents Nanette with a choice: return to her real-world body, now comatose in a San Juniper hospital, but abandon her crew forever, or save them and remain trapped in a limited server, safe from the player base but unable to escape. It's a branching moment and a tough choice, but when Nanette chooses the crew over herself, Daly reveals it was all a test and he had a third option, a perfect outcome. Everyone is saved, no one is left behind. But if you saw the first USS Callister, you know Robert Daly is a freaky man, so there is a catch. Daly lets it slip that he plans on copying and pasting Nanette and not cut and paste. What that means is he's gonna duplicate her. Instead of letting her leave, he's gonna keep one copy with himself forever. Again, when Nanette refuses, things get violent and she kills Daly again, but this time for good. His death triggers a catastrophic chain reaction. The entire Infinity system begins to collapse, wiping out backups, private instances, and everything goes downhill. Walton is exposed, arrested. Nanette was able to use what Daly gave her to escape, not just with herself, but with her crew. In a bittersweet ending, she was able to get inside her body with her crew until she finds a way to get them all out. This episode, keeping up with the themes of AI, has what happens when the human mind merges with AI. While it's not super deep in its messaging, it is by far the best episode. And I have to say, I don't think we're done with USS Callister. This could be one of the few episodes of Black Mirror that keeps repeating throughout other seasons, because we see a shift in what's happening to Black Mirror as it becomes more commercialized. But guys, that's just my take to hear your thoughts about it in the comment section below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the